Hello friends, which one of these tools do you think can cut curves and strange shapes in acrylic sheets? And which one is the best tool? The piercing saw or jeweler's saw? A Fretsaw? A hacksaw? A jigsaw, a Dremel, or an angle grinder, or even a drill press? In this video I'll show you what these tools can do and which one is the best one for 3 different thicknesses of acrylic sheets: 1.5 millimeters, 3 millimeters, and 6 millimeters. I have designed and cut out this template to use in our tests. This figure has the following difficulties. It has both concave and convex curves. It has very sharp curves. It has a thin final body, so a wrong turn and it can snap easily. So I believe this is a good challenge for our tools. I suppose you know this saw can also cut curves. The problem it has is the size of the blade. To create a curve, it needs to have a bit of play in the path it creates. A circle cut with this saw might have to be 1 meter in diameter or more. So, in general, we can say that the arc of a curve will depend on the size of the blade and the width of the path. This fact makes it somewhat unfair to assess these tools with such a small figure due to the width of their blades. But let's see what they can do. You might be surprised. This tool is a specialty tool for cutting irregular shapes of a very small size. It is very effective, but requires some experience to get it moving fast and within the marked line. This tool is highly recommended for small shapes and acrylics under 3 mm thick. With 3 mm acrylics and thicker, other tools are faster and just as precise. With 6 mm acrylic, the jeweler's saw tends to get stuck, and if you're not careful, it can break. With bigger shapes, we can't use a jeweler's saw because the size of its frame doesn't allow deep cuts. This tool is very popular for cutting irregular shapes in thin wood, like jigsaw puzzles. With 1.5 mm acrylic, it is quite effective, but it requires to be well clamped down because it pulls the acrylic up and down, and that is a risk of cracking. In all, it is a fast tool and can follow sharp curves with high precision. It works much better with 3 mm acrylic sheets because they are less flexible and is faster than the jeweler's saw. With 6 mm acrylics, it also is fast and very safe and follows all sharp curves with precision. This tool has many problems. First, it's very difficult to handle, and second, it has a wide blade, so it only can cut large curves. However, for large curves, we have much faster tools, as we will see. So this tool is a no-no. With a 1.5 mm acrylic sheet, if it's well clamped, or if you're lucky, you might get by cutting curves, but most probably you'll break the acrylic. A jigsaw works well with acrylic sheet of 3 mm or thicker, but only if you follow strict procedure. An 18 or 32 TPI blade. Clamp firmly, preferably on both sides of the workspace, or with the cutting path as near to the table as possible, and put some thin cloth around the acrylic if you don't want it scratched. Use a speed between 1500 and 2500 SPM. You cut in by short steps. The first cut along the marked path, the second cut a bit wider to remove the melted acrylic. In thin acrylics, like this 3 mm sheet, the process is quite straightforward and there is less melted residue. But be careful, as sometimes it can go faster than expected. With thicker acrylics, like the 6 mm sheet, this can be a slow process, but that can help you to not make mistakes. If you don't remove the melted residues while cutting, they'll go hard very quickly, and you'll have to cut everything again because it sticks like adhesive. A Dremel with a cutting guide and a spiral cutting bit, which pushes the acrylic residues down, cuts through 1.5 mm acrylic very easily, even at the suggested low speed of 10 to 14,000 RPM, but can stop turning if you push too hard. For best control of the bit, we must move counterclockwise. With 3 mm and 6 mm acrylic, you have to use a speed of 15 to 19,000 RPM, even if there is some melting, or it will move too slowly. With 3 mm, the process is quick and delivers a cut with few mistakes. With 6 mm, the process is a bit slower, but still quite fast. As you can see here, at these speeds, there are noticeable fumes, which show the acrylic is burning and melting, although the residues are pushed out of the way by the bit. The angle grinder, even if it's as small as the Dremel's disc, it can't cut curves following a line, because its cut is always a straight line. But we can use this tool to remove excess material around the marked line, just like a sculptor would do, even inside concave curves, only limited by the size of the disc. One of the main problems we have when trying to cut curves is being able to follow the line marked on the acrylic. And as you know, the blame is on the tool, not on our hands. Hand tools have a life of their own, and their main purpose in life is running away from our hands. All the tools I have mentioned before are runaways, and they all deliver imperfect cuts, and will require a good amount of filing and sandpaper for a good finish. If we insert a spiral cutting bit, the same one we used in the Dremel, and make it run at least 1700 RPM, we can cut through these acrylic sheets quite fast. One word of warning. You know that when you're working with power tools, you must always use protective equipment. Goggles for things that jump in your face, earplugs for the noise, and gloves in case you get cut or anything. With these spiral cutting bits of Dremel or other kinds that you might use in your press drill, is a special warning here. The cutting part isn't in the point of the bit. It's on the side. So if sometimes we don't use gloves because we need the position of our fingers moving the object, in this case, if your finger touches the bit while it's turning, it'll cut through to your bone. So, although this drill bit can go through our gloves and to the finger, we must be especially careful here in never getting our fingers near the drill bit, with gloves or without. When we're using the spiral cutting bit on the Dremel, there's no danger because our fingers are very far away from where the drill bit is working, and we'll never put our fingers near that because it's fixed onto the table. But in this case, yes, we have lots of danger there. This tool also can deliver imperfect cuts. The difference is that in this case we hold the acrylic in our hands and the tool can't move. In this case we are to blame for any mistake, not the tool. However, with some practice we'll get cleaner cuts without so much filing. With the 1.5mm acrylic, it might go just a bit too fast, so don't let the drill bit pull you along or you'll get out of line. With the 3mm acrylic, it goes slower, even at 2700 RPM, allowing us better control. The final result isn't that good, but it's my first attempt with this tool, and I need more practice. With the 6mm acrylic, it is even slower, and as it's thicker material, the bit gets hotter, and some acrylic shavings show a bit of melting. If you draw a figure on a sheet of acrylic to cut it out, your first task is to remove all excess of acrylic around the figure. The best tool for this is an angle grinder. Fast and simple. However, when it comes to thin acrylics, like 1.5mm, you'll be better off just using a scoring knife with the help of a metal guide. Also for cutting the convex side or outer edge of a curve, both the angle grinder and the jigsaw are the perfect tools because they are fast and if handled well can deliver clean cuts with minor sandpapering. You just have to cut repetitive tangents to the art. Easy said, not easy done. The same with any straight line. For any curve or straight line or difficult access or any small inner edge or concave curve, a Fretsaw, Dremel or drill press spiral cutting bits are the best options for a precise and fast cut. For very small figures and precise cuts in 1.5mm acrylics, your best tool is a piercing or dual saw. If you have to cut out a window, you don't need a drilling bit. Just start the job with a spiral cutting bit going in at a 45-degree angle and completing the job either with a Fretsaw or a jigsaw. Both will give you straight lines. Well friends, this is what I've found testing all these tools. I hope you liked the video and it's useful for you. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up, share it and subscribe. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.